Welcome to the Diceshaker Podcast. My name is Jordan Brown. I am the host of the Diceshaker Podcast. With me, as always, is the man behind the scenes, Tyler Hartley. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Jordan.
Today's episode, we are talking NBA, draft lottery, some playoff implications from last night. Got to get to the Jason Tatum injury news. It is PGA Championship week. We're going to talk about that. And then we wrap with our latest Jordon Hudson update. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Check out the sponsors, rate, review, like, subscribe, tell your friends, all that good stuff. We're getting through the silly season here. Football's around the corner, but thank you for sticking with us. All right, let's get to the show.
I bet my life I'm a dice shaker. Electric lights on a skyscraper.
All right, NBA. Few things we got to start with. I think biggest news. It's tough to say what the biggest news is, but we'll do this first. So last night, NBA draft lottery. The Dallas Mavericks get the first overall pick. They will take Cooper Flagg. They have a 1.8% chance heading into the night of getting the pick. They walk away with it. So now, before we get into the discussion of how this is going to go, I just want to take a quick podcast tally here of rigged or not rigged. Where do we stand?
1.8%. I did not realize it was that low.
1.8% chance.
I'm gonna say not rigged.
Not rigged.
Just for my own enjoyment in the future of the NBA. Does that make sense?
But you don't want to believe.
Exactly. My personal bias
Right.
for my own enjoyment,
Yeah.
I want to believe it's not biased. That's where I stand at this point. That's all.
Right. It's like 9/11, probably an inside job, but if you start believing that really changes how you think about the rest of the world.
Exactly. How do I wake up in the morning?
Exactly. Yeah. No, understood that. That. All right. So a lot of people out there saying it's rigged for obvious reasons, and I think at this point, like, the NBA's dealt with conspiracy stuff for forever, truly since like the inception of the league. Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, LeBron James, Derrick Rose, a bunch of different stuff. Michael Jordan, I think maybe the most famous one, the Michael Jordan didn't retire. He was suspended, gambling, got his father killed, that whole conspiracy, all that. So the conspiracy chants are going to be loud and they're going to be consistent to the point where the NBA, I think, will have to address it. Like, they've never really publicly, especially under David Stern, gone ahead and like acknowledged these conspiracy theories. They just kind of ignore them. I think that this will be, just with how earth-shattering the Luka trade was and how big the fallout was of why did they do this? This is so dumb. Nico's the dumbest GM in the history of sports. He needs to be fired, blah, 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 blah. And then it just so happens that we have a generational prospect in the lottery this year that a bunch of teams tanked for, and the 1.8% Mavericks walk away with it. So that's where it stands on its face. There's almost no chance this was rigged, based simply on the fact of, like, you can get into like just general reasons why conspiracies tend not to be true, which is like the number of people that have to be involved. You have to align everybody's incentives to one thing, to where everybody's on the same page. They're going to keep their mouth shut. They're going to do all this stuff, right? It's very hard to pull off. But all you need to look at to understand that this was not rigged is how the Luka trade went down. So when the trade happened, What was the explanation given? What was from Dallas's perspective? What did they say?
That Luka was not basically fit.
They called him fat. Right? They said he's an alcoholic. There was whispers of a drug problem.
Yeah.
He's a long-term injury risk. All that stuff. Right. Okay. So let's say that's true. Let's say all that's true. Why would the NBA move heaven and earth to get that guy to LA and make him the face of the league? If all that's true, if he's unreliable and he doesn't care about basketball and he's going to be hurt all the time and blah blah, like, Luka's value, like, stock right now is low. Like, it's not like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
do you think it was necessarily to make him the face of the league, or it was actually just to get that Boston Lakers matchup in the finals, which is definitely not obviously not happening now.
Even before last night, like, the Lakers were done in the first round.
Well, I know, but I'm saying in the time of the trade, though, it was the idea.
I guess, but if that's true, then they probably forced the Mark Williams trade through so that the Lakers have a big man and can actually make a run instead of pulling it back on a physical, right? Okay, so there's one. So that's one. That's why it doesn't make sense to me. Now let's say it's not true. Let's say all that stuff that Dallas said was just Dallas covering their ass, and we're just going to make up lies about this guy so that we don't look like fucking idiots. If you are the NBA and you just rigged the league to get Luka to LA to make him the face of the league and all that, why would you then let Dallas just slander him on the way out and completely kill his public image and then have them can get waxed in the first round and have it be like, yo, maybe this guy's a loser. Like, maybe you can't win with him.
No, it's true. I mean, these do stack up against it being a conspiracy.
It doesn't make any logical sense to do it that way. And then really the kicker, and this is where like all NBA draft lottery conspiracy theories have to go to die, which is when Zion was in the draft, the Knicks had the highest percentage chance to get him. And instead, they got the number 2 pick and picked R.J. Barrett. And they gave Zion Williams to the New Orleans Pelicans, which are far and away considered to be the worst run NBA franchise. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense. Yep. That makes zero sense. If you easily could have just, Zion, Knicks, we're done. So it just doesn't make any sense for it to be a conspiracy. What's more likely, what likely happened here, and also here's the other part of it too. Dallas was going to be good after the trade. Anthony Davis got hurt in one game, and then Kyrie blew his ACL.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they were not even going to be in the lottery. So if this was some grand plan from the beginning, it's like it wouldn't work because they weren't even going to be in the lottery. Mm-hmm. Now, that's not to say, like when I hear certain things about how the NBA used to work back in the day, like the Patrick Ewing thing, the Michael Jordan thing, the league was in a different place, in a different time, where some, like, I would not be willing to take a witness stand in a court of law and say the NBA has never rigged anything. The NBA has never actually pulled some shady bullshit off. That's not a position I'm willing to take. It just makes no sense that this is how they would do it and this is what they would do. So I don't think it was rigged. I think it just, listen, man, good things happen to bad people.
Yeah.
And now what I will say, they can't let Nico make that pick. He has to be fired now.
Yeah.
Because, like, that was one of the funniest tweets I saw yesterday. I don't even know who said it, but somebody tweeted out that Nico Harrison has Con Knipple at the top of his draft board. Wouldn't that be great if they just didn't take flag?
Well, if it is on its face, like he trades Luka for all this stuff, it's like, I don't put it past him to be like, let's make a hero pick and not take Cooper flag.
I thought when I first saw it that they got it, I was like, oh, I wonder if they're going to try to flip that pick for Giannis.
That's fair too. They could try and do some shit.
They've come out today and said they're not. Like they're unequivocally not doing that. Now that goes. We've talked about this over the past few weeks, months with the NFL draft. Of like that could be a lie, right? You can't. It's a game of poker here. You can't just open and say, yeah, we'd love to do it, right? Because then the price goes up. Like so we'll see how that shakes out. The NBA draft moves much quicker than the NFL draft does. Like the NBA draft is like 4 days after the finals. Mm-hmm. So this is going to move fast. Whatever happens here, I think in all likelihood they're going to stick and make the pick. And then, they've got Cooper Flag to pair with Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. And now it's like, all right, you don't have... It's like that is now going to be like a competent NBA franchise. And that doesn't excuse the trade. That doesn't make the trade good because, like, you weren't... Again, this wasn't the plan. They were thinking they were going to be good in the playoffs. They weren't like, oh, we're going to blow it up and get the first pick. It just so happened that it worked out that way. And good things happen to bad people. And listen, anybody who works like a corporate job, there, there's an idiot at your job that keeps hitting the lottery. That just every single, like, right when he's on the edge of like, oh, this guy's for sure getting fired, something just breaks his way and now you can't fire him. And that's just, listen, man, that's the way of the world. You understand? Like, if the world was a fair and just place, we wouldn't be doing this in Tyler's basement right now.
That's fair.
All right?
Yeah,
all right? I'm talking,
good point.
This podcast is better than 95% of the ESPN airwave content. All right? But here we are. The world's not fair. That's the way it is. So that's my thing with the conspiracy theories. Like that, I think, listen, people are going to run with it. It's going to be a huge thing, and the NBA is going to have to address it because, like, it just of how big that narrative was about Luka and now this development. But anybody who, like, honestly, sincerely believes that's probably pretty dumb is kind of my general take there. Thoughts?
He came in pretty hard about that.
I didn't want to call attention. Attention. There's a gentleman in the room. He's a young guy. He doesn't know how the world works. So he listen. Friend of the podcast, Tyler Risman. Check him out. Does comedy at several basements around the city. Came in and said it was a conspiracy, and that's the exact type of guy who is going to believe this is a conspiracy. But that's also like the median NBA fan. If Risman told me that he owns a Tyler Hero jersey, I'd believe that. That's the type of guy. That's the South Beach one, the pink cool and the pink and the blue one. The pink and the blue one for sure. That is who's mostly watching these games. So listen, that's just a problem the NBA is going to have to deal with. It's not a fan base full of me, It's a lot of people out there with their mouth open, go duh, but it wasn't likely. It wasn't likely, So anyway, so that's that. Other news, it was crazy how fast shit happened last night because that was like the big. There was like when we were going to do a whole thing on how the NBA playoffs didn't have any juice and why they didn't have any juice, and then this happened last night. I was like, oh, okay, well we're going to talk about that. And then the Knicks Celtics game, which was the most interesting series of the playoffs so far, I think, goes last night, and the Celtics jump out to like I think 14, 15 point lead, and then they start to blow it, and then they really start to blow it, and then with 3 minutes left, they're down 9. And then Jason Tatum blows his Achilles.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy shit, everything just changed so quickly. And And look, it's confirmed. He had the surgery, full-blown Achilles tear. He's out all of next year. He'll be 28 when he comes back to the league. So the comp here is probably Kevin Durant in 2019. Mm-hmm. He tore his Achilles in the finals. Kevin Durant at that time was 31. Tatum's a little younger, which is good. KD's obviously returned to a high level of play, and I would expect Tatum too. But I think like that era of the Celtics is now over. That era of Tatum is now over. And it ties all the way back into what the original take was going to be, which is that the NBA, which has honestly been the case like all year, people talk about these playoffs specifically, they lack juice. And then now they lack even more juice. Because last night was actually like before he blew his Achilles, we were going to get, it was most likely Knicks were closing that game out. So we were going to be Knicks 3, Boston 1. And now we were going to get one of two stories. We were either going to get, holy shit, the Knicks won the series, Boston blew it, what a choke job. How is the defending NBA champions blowing this? They blew game 1 by 20 points. They game 2, 20-point lead, blew it. Game 3, they win by 1 million. And then 4, they would have lost as well. It's like all-time choke job, terrible. Now we got to reevaluate everything we think about the Celtics. And we get the Knicks, bing bong, all their fucking obnoxious fans. We get all that into the Eastern Conference Finals. Maybe would have made the finals. Maybe still will. Or it goes the other way, and Boston comes back from a 3-1 deficit, and it's, oh my God, generational team. Here it goes. They're going back to back. And you dumb Knicks fans, you really believed, you really thought, nope, you take the L again. It'll never work for you. Boston owns you, all that. Both are awesome, fun storylines. Yeah. We now get neither of those because now the story is just Tatum's hurt, nothing matters. Right? It doesn't matter that they were going to blow that game with Tatum last night. Now that doesn't matter. And if the Knicks win now, it's like, doesn't matter. You did it without Tatum. And even if the Celtics were to come back and beat the Knicks, it would be funny to laugh at the Knicks fans, but nobody's going to take the Celtics seriously as a title contender now.
Yeah. Do you think that this isn't something that's going to stretch outside of basketball, but within the basketball ecosystem, I think OKC winning is kind of something to be excited about just because of how it started with all the draft picks they acquired, the way they've been building for years and years. If they did go on and win, it's like, oh, this is cool. Now we're actually we're going to start to see like a new dynasty sort of being created.
Maybe we are, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. And this is the general overall take of why the playoffs are juiceless. We are now, assuming the Celtics are done, we will have 6 different NBA champions in the last 6 years. That has never happened in the history of the league. Mm-hmm. I can name you, and this is not a flex, I can name every NBA champion since 1980. And the reason I can do that is because it's only like 6 teams. Mm-hmm. You just have to figure out what years are which, right? And that was what the NBA built its brand off of through Magic and Bird, right? That was the first wave of it. It was, oh my God, we're trading titles back and forth all the way through the 80s. Then the Pistons won back-to-back. Then we get the Bulls run. Then Houston wins 2. Then the Bulls do another run again. Now that's a whole decade of the 90s. Then we go into the Lakers dynasty, and also the Spurs are in there as well.
Yep.
That wraps up. Then we get... Then we get into a weird period there where we get, and this is what this year kind of feels like to me, like you get the 04 Pistons, you get the Spurs again in 05, you get the Heat in 6, you get the Spurs again in 07, then you get Celtics in 08, Lakers in the last 2, and then we're into like the Miami Heat LeBron stuff.
LeBron, it was kind of like LeBron and then Golden State LeBron sort of thing, right?
So,
like that era, yeah.
So since 1980, we've had like rivalries and stakes between teams and players and historic implications to titles. Now we are in an era based on a few different factors. Some of it's within the NBA's control, some of it's not, where it is very, very, very hard to win multiple titles. Windows close exceptionally fast. The gap between teams is very small. And when that happens, you don't allow the stakes to build. Part of it is we don't get rivalries between teams, right? The NBA has gone fully in the last, 10 years, said teams don't matter. Fuck teams. It's all about stars. People root for the stars. All we care about is that. We don't care about who's playing for what team, right? They all change team. Doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we've thrown rivalry out the window. Now you no longer get Lakers Celtics. You no longer get Bulls Pistons. You no longer get Lakers Spurs. You no longer get even Warriors Cavs that we got, at the beginning part of, or in the middle part of the last decade.
Yeah.
You get different teams in the finals every year. And then if you look at the superstars of this new generation, if you look at Jokic, and you look at Giannis, and you look at Tatum, and you look at Luka, and you look at Anthony Edwards, and if you want to throw Shea in that category, that's fine. What do all of those guys have in common?
All new? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like that's like the new. Those are like the new, you know, like those are like the new era superstars.
Yeah, like what
do they all have in common? Nobody's got more than one title.
Sure, yeah, like they haven't.
Nobody's got more than one.
Yeah,
right, so we're talking about like, oh, the Celtics are supposed to go on a run. Well, the Bucks thought they were going on a run after 21. Mm-hmm. If you want to go, the Lakers thought they were going on a run after the bubble. Doesn't count fake championship, but they thought they were going to do that. Didn't. Then the Bucks thought they were going on a run. Well, and then the Nuggets went in 03. They think they're going on a run, and then the Celtics won last year. They think they're going on a run. Nobody's going on a run, and when you don't allow history to happen, like the reason, like if we want to go back and look at, this for us, we experienced it from 2015 to 2018. So what's that? 4 straight years. We got the exact same NBA finals. We had Warriors, Cavs. 15, 16, 17, 18. And people at the time thought that was a bad thing. Thought it was bad for the league that like we came into the year and we knew who the teams in the finals were going to be. The playoffs didn't have a ton of juice because there was 2 or 3 teams that could make the finals, and that was it. But what that allowed the league to create was history. It allowed, like when in 2015, when the Warriors won the title, it was, oh my God, revolutionary. Look at all the threes they're shooting. Nobody's ever played like this. How did this team come out of, they came out of nowhere and beat LeBron. That's crazy. And in 2016, it's like, oh my God, the Warriors win 73 regular season games. And go, oh my God, new dynasty. This is the greatest team of all time. Here we go. Nope. LeBron beats them in the finals. And now that title has more, because now it's LeBron gets his 3rd. And Cleveland finally gets one. He finally fulfilled the prophecy that was supposed to happen in 2003 when he got drafted there. He comes back and he gets that city a championship. Huge historical implications. Then you go back. Well, now then the Warriors are like, well, we're gonna up the ante in this arms race. We're bringing in KD, and then they go back to back in 17, 18. Now they've won 3 out of 4, and that's a dynasty. Yeah. And every single one of those titles had historical implications, right? And then it all starts to go downhill in 19 when the Warriors get hurt and the Raptors and Kawhi win. Then we go into the bubble. And then now we're into this new era of the NBA where it's harder to build teams and the teams are closer together. And then we go Bucks, we go Warriors again. Then we go Nuggets, Celtics, and now we're going to have a new champion again this year. And when you only allow, it's very similar to golf, right? And we're going to talk about majors later in this episode, but like if you look at like a major championship, if everybody's got one, then like, or none, then like each one that they win doesn't matter that much until we start to accumulate some. Yeah. And we get into that 4, 5, 6 range. And that's the same with these teams and these players. None of it means anything if they're all just going to get one. Because it's all just, it's like, all right, like there's no greatness. When people watch sports, they want to see greatness. And I think what the NBA thought the problem was that they wanted to be like the NFL, and we got to have every market engaged. Everybody's got to think they can win a title. Everybody's got to have a chance, and that's what's going to get people to watch the regular season and all these playoff games. And they're just fundamentally wrong about that because that's not what people like about the NBA. Yeah. What people like about the NBA is history and dominance.
It's true. You've talked about this too, where it's like sports is built on hatred. It's like, it actually kind of fuels the hatred of being like, fuck, this team's going to win again. Like that does get you to tune in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Another question I'd have though too, like if Golden State say they do win this year, does that kind of continue their greatness? You know what I mean? Because they did win in 2019 or 2018.
Sure. They're currently down 3-1 and Steph's not playing.
I'm saying like if they were to happen to come back though, or like let's even look at it past before this series, like going into that, like that would have had a chance.
Look, the league is still, and this is a problem. We're talking about problems with the NBA. They have tied themselves, maybe not even by their own choice, to LeBron and Steph for longer than they should have. Right? I think ultimately, when we look back at history, I think LeBron playing as long as he did will be looked at as wildly impressive, but probably not the best thing for the NBA. Because he's kind of overstayed his welcome, and these new stars haven't been able to grow. So yes, if LeBron were to win, or the Warriors were to win, that would have historic implications, right? And that would get the juices going because they've built that over 20 years. Yeah. None of these new guys have that juice.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think we're now just working through a period of we got to have if Denver were to win this year, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like
now we got something going.
Now Jokic's got 2. He's clearly the number 1 player in the world. Like he's certainly nobody's idea of like a charismatic guy. So I don't know if the NBA would love that he's the one, but at least you would have a guy of like, all right, we've got the king, and now we've all got to chase it. Right now, there's no hierarchy. It's all level.
It does feel like we are at kind of like almost like a new starting line, essentially. Like we are trying to,
right.
And hopefully teams do start sticking together, because I think you're absolutely right. Like
hard
you
to do.
want to, I know, but you do want to see these rivalries start. And it does seem like Ant and Shy. Like I don't know if they're gonna like just become.
How do you say his name right there?
Shy.
Shay.
Okay.
Hamilton, Ontario. Please respect it.
Shay.
Thank you.
My bad. Shay. But those guys, it's tough to say because they're so young in their career, but it does seem like they are like very team oriented, like winning kind of guys though too. So maybe this is the start of something as well. But I think you're absolutely right at this point too. That is actually, I didn't really understand why I was kind of falling out of the NBA so much, but that's absolutely why though, because it's just like I watch.
There's no
it,
stakes.
It's like, what is this?
There's
like,
no stakes. It feels random. It feels random. And again, part of that is the fact that there are just there's a lot more really good players now. The league is deeper than it's ever been, to the point where if you don't have, right, like again, we grew up in an era where if you had LeBron James, that means you meant the finals, right? He made 8 or 9 straight finals, right? If you had LeBron, you go to the finals. There's no player like that now, where if you have him, you make the finals. You have to have a team, and if you look at the best teams, Boston, OKC, they're incredibly deep. But what the NBA has done in order to try to incentivize all of the teams to be around, like they want the gap between the best teams and everybody else to be smaller. And so they've made it hard now with the way the cap works and the rules work, where basically you can have 2 superstars on your team, and if you exceed that, you can't build out the rest of your roster.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get a bunch of these teams, and so part of it is there's enough superstars now to where every team can realistically think they could get 2. And then it's going to be about backfilling that with role players, which again just doesn't allow any of these like special teams, like OKC for example, right? Like yeah, right now it looks like okay, cool. Well, Shay's getting paid already. Then Chet's going to have to get paid at some point here, and J-Dub's going to have to get paid at some point here. And now we're out of spots.
Yeah,
we can't afford all 3. Somebody's getting traded, and then you talk about the other guys, the Lou Dorts and the Alex Carusos and the Isaiah Hartensteins of the role guys. It's like, well, those guys end up having to leave because now we got to pay these other guys, and the way the cap works becomes incredibly restricted, right? This is why, like, if you look at like Kevin Durant this offseason, right? It is a foregone conclusion that Kevin Durant's going to get traded this offseason. His market's not going to be that big because he carries a $53 million cap hit. And so if you're giving up stuff to bring in Kevin Durant, his salary is going to put you in a cap situation where you can't really do a lot to add to that roster. And then this is what happened to the Suns, right? They brought him in, they gave up $1 million things for him. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, now it's Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, who doesn't give a fuck, and Devin Booker, and nothing else.
Yeah.
And and in 2010, when the decision happened and LeBron went to the Heat, they basically did that. They say it's going to be 3 guys and we'll Mario Chalmers it the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And it worked great. Different NBA back then. Mm-hmm. Not what they've got now. And I think, so if you want to look at what does the NBA do? How do they fix this? Number one, I don't think they necessarily want to fix it. Number two, I think, and Adam Silver actually talked about this today, the league has to expand. I think they need more teams because we have to thin the talent pool out. We have to make it, and the league doesn't want to hear it, and people don't like, you are not the NFL. The NFL sells itself. People will watch truly anybody play football. That is not the case with basketball. And so you are going to have a world where there are really good teams and really bad teams. And that is just what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to, and that's why the lottery odds are flattened the way they are, to where at 1.8%, like back in the old lottery odds, it was only like if you finished, the only teams who could get the number 1 overall pick was like teams who finished in the bottom 4. Now it's anybody in the lottery has a shot. And that's all to, again, try to just even out the talent pool, even out the teams, make it. And their idea behind it is that, well, then that means every game matters and everybody has a chance. And what I'm telling you is if everybody matters, nobody matters. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of sports, and their sport in particular is you have to lean into the history of it. You have to lean into rivalries, and they've gone so far away from that that we are just now, like I said, it's going to be in an era of it is going to be very, very hard to go back to back. It's going to windows in terms of compete. Like, look at the Bucks, man. Like 2021, they won the title. Everybody said Giannis was the best player in the world. It is now over.
Yeah,
it is over. Mm-hmm. Like done. Like in terms of like he is going to get traded this summer. 10 years, if they got Giannis 10 years before they did, he probably wins 3 or 4 titles because that was what the league was then. It's not what the league is now. So that's it. That's the overall take. Really sucked to see Tatum go. My brother is a diehard Celtics fan. He's been inconsolable for the last 24 hours. You know what's tough? You know what's tough about it too? A lot of mirror images of the Kawhi injury in 2021 when he blew his knee. So he got hurt. Kawhi got hurt in the second round in the middle of Game 4. Tatum got hurt in the second round, middle of Game 4. The Clippers had lost the first 2 games of that series and then blew out the Jazz in Game 3. Celtics had lost 2 of that and then blew out the Knicks in Game 3. And you could reasonably argue that it cost them a title. You could argue it cost the Clippers a title in 21. Now, Kawhi did get back to full strength. He got hurt again in 22, hurt again in 23. You don't really expect that from Tatum. So I expect the Celtics to be back as a contender again. I expect Tatum to be back, maybe not at the peak of his absolute powers, but still a very, very, very good player. He'll probably have to change his game a little bit. That was going to happen with age anyway. This just accelerates that. But sucked because it was, like I said, there's just no series in the East now that is, like, I don't care about any of these teams.
No.
None of them got juice. And so now we're looking at, it's like, all right, like, it looks like the Wolves are going to beat the Warriors. So we're going to get Ant. That's cool. And then we're going to get either Nuggets or OKC. The Nuggets, I guess, theoretically are a good story because they could get their second. But in all likelihood, I think we're going to end up with OKC and the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Final. Winner of that, I think, will win the finals. And then we have another superstar with 1 title.
Yeah.
It doesn't move the needle for anybody.
Yeah, doesn't do anything.
Tough there. Last thing in the NBA I wanted to touch on, just got announced yesterday. NBC is taking over for TNT next year on the NBA coverage. And they have announced that Michael motherfucking Jordan is going to be working for them as a special assignments editor. Now, do I know what a special assignments editor is? No fucking clue. I don't think NBC knows what that is. I think what NBC knows is we paid Michael Jordan. First of all, what is that check looking like? Like, do you know how much money you got to give Michael Jordan to get off the couch?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, that must be an insane level of money. And I don't understand what they think we're getting out of Mike. Like, this is a man who has purposely gone out of his way, been in the public eye since fucking 1982, purposely gone out of his way to never say anything controversial about anyone, right? Famous quote. They asked him, back in the day, like, why don't you speak out about politics? And he said, Republicans buy shoes too.
Yeah.
Right? That's his mentality from a different time and a different era where his whole steez is just show up, smile, cash the check. Don't fucking say anything. And so I don't know what we're going to get out of Mike on television broadcasts, but he's involved. He's going to be doing them.
So this means we lose Chuck and Shaq. No,
okay. No, they're keeping the studio show going.
Studio.
And people throwing that out a lot of like Mike and Chuck. Mike hates Chuck. They haven't talked in over a decade.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect that would be. I actually
they used to be like best friends back in the day.
No, I know I've seen them like Oprah one time. That's pretty much all I knew about them.
Yeah, they hate each other. Well, I think it's more Mike hates Chuck. Then Chuck, I think Chuck has said like he doesn't hate Mike. Like, he would squash it if he could.
Yeah, no,
but Mike's not. He's not a squash. He's not a squash the beef. Not a squash the beef kind of guy. Yeah, not really what he's about.
That does not excite me at all to hear Michael Jordan's going to be talking.
Well, it excites me in the way of like he is not public. Like he doesn't do shit. Like you never hear of what Michael's doing. Yeah. Like, and so it excites me a little bit to be like, all right, like Michael Jordan's going to be like...
Feels like it's going to be like Tom Brady, though. It's like, what is he really going to say?
I just don't think I just don't... Like, again, I don't know what a special assignments editor is. I don't know what the fuck that means. I do know, obviously, so NBC had the rights to the NBA from 1990 through, I think, 2006. So all of those Bulls runs... Right, all 6 titles were on NBC. Obviously, it was a time where there was like one national game a week. It was always the Bulls. So Mike and NBC became very synonymous. So I understand the partnership from that perspective. Again, I'm very interested to see what they have Mike out there doing because he's not going to be sitting in the studio like giving. You think Michael Jordan is sitting around till 1 a.m. till the West Coast game ends, so he can fucking yuck it up with Kenny and Shaq? Like, no,
yeah, no.
He's Michael fucking Jordan. So that's the interesting part to me is like. I don't know why he's doing this. I don't know how they convinced him to do it. I don't know what they're going to have him doing, but I'm excited to find out. It might suck. It's probably going to suck. Yeah. But again, it's like we don't get anything from Mike. So it's like, all right. Like, and now what I would love and what I hope, it's not going to happen, but I hope he's now like looking at it as like, all right, like the LeBron retirement tour is coming at some point, and I hope he's there to like just be a world-class hater every step. That would be great, because that is one thing. Like,
that is something he's good at. Yeah,
Mike can't dribble no more. Mike can't shoot. Mike can't jump. Mike's fat now. Yeah. He can't do any of that. I know that hater's still in him though. I know it's in there. The guy who kept Isaiah Thomas off the Olympic basketball team because he didn't like how he looked at him in a handshake. I know that guy. I know that guy's still in there. Yeah. So that's what I would hope. But again, he's never gonna I just don't believe he's gonna do that, because he's a man again who's been in the public eye for 45 years. And he's never once said something controversial. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why he would start now. So that's it. That's the basketball stuff. We're gonna take a break, and then we'll be back with some PGA Championship. All right, just want to take a break to tell you guys about Wanna Parlay. Wanna Parlay is a new way to play daily fantasy sports. So for you people who like the prop bets, who like the parlays, this is for you. What it does is it allows you to build a parlay and compete against others to win money and prizes. So how you got to do it is you got to go to the App Store. You want to download the Wanna Parlay app. You're going to create an account. When you create the account, you want to enter the promo code DICE. That's DICE, DICE. That's going to get you a free deposit match up to $250 on your first deposit. From there, you just build your parlays, join groups, compete against others, get put on the leaderboard, win prizes, trips to NFL games, win money up to, I think, $2,000 on a $2 parlay you can win. So check them out. Wanna Parlay. Thank you. Okay. All right. PGA Championship week. So we've been talking about it for a few weeks now, about how I didn't think this was going to qualify as a major championship. And before we're going to get into it, I just want to say this. You let me know if I say anything that sounds crazy. Quail Hollow as a golf course is fine. It's fine. It's not great. There's nothing remarkable about it, but it's fine. It's not like Valhalla last year when they had the PGA Championship, right? Xander Schauffele minus 22. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be an outright disgrace. It's a fine golf course, and I understand why. Like, the members are always I bet it's a great place to be a member. Fine is not the bar for a major championship. Yeah, that's not what we have. And I want to pull up a quote here from Hunter Mahan this morning when asked about Quail Hollow. And he said, hold on, I'm going to get it right here for us. He said Quail Hollow is kind of like a Kardashian. It's well maintained and it looks good, but it lacks a soul.
That's honestly pretty like nail on the head. Like, that's what you've been saying.
There's just
about
nothing remarkable about this place. And it's a little bit a bit where I say, hey, this doesn't count as a major championship. But it's also kind of not a bit, all right? Because here's the thing. We only get fucking 4 of these a year, all right? We're in a world now where the only golf tournaments that ever matter, that ever count, are the majors. It's all that matters. It's all that we measure these guys again. And like history, like, looks back, we're to look at who won the majors. And so we can't just be counting things that aren't majors. You can't tell me that Rory at the Masters, Bryson at Pinehurst last year, even Brooks at the 2023 PGA at Oak Hill, you can't tell me that counts the same as Xander minus 22 at Valhalla. Like, you're expecting me to take that as the same, and it's just not. And that's not me being like, oh, you only want it to be hard golf. No, it's like this. A golf course in a major championship is supposed to be a complete test of golf. It's supposed to be a complete test of the player. And that is supposed to include physical test, like, can you actually hit the shot? It's also supposed to include a mental test, meaning what shots are you going to hit? When are you going to hit them, and why? And can you deal with the pressure of making those decisions and then the pressure of actually executing the shot? That's what a major championship test should be. What Quail Hollow is, and what most PGA Tour level courses are, is just a straight up execution test of, here's the shot, can you hit it, yes or no? It is a pass-fail thing. It is like the difference between like a year-end exam with essay questions and short answer and room to move versus like a true-false like Scantron thing, where it's like you either get it right or you don't get it right, and that's it, and that's all we're doing. And look, again, I think Quail Hollow is, I would say, an above-average PGA Tour venue. When it's the fucking Wells Fargo Championship, that's fine. Break the Scantrons out. Let's go true false. We just got to get through this shit. When we're talking major championship, when we're talking one of the 4 golf tournaments that matter, that's not good enough.
Yep.
And it's just straight up not. And so, look, I don't think I'm going to count this as a major. I will keep an open mind throughout the tournament. We maybe sit down next Sunday. I declare this was a major. I do not think it was going to be a major. Some of that's also not like it has been Drench City, USA in Charlotte this week. Like I sent you a picture of the putting greens yesterday of Hideki Matsuyama putting. First of all, I don't know what the fuck this guy's working on. There's a little sheet of water on the green. But that just shows you how much water that course took yesterday. It got more today. It's going to be soft. It's going to be big bombers only. It's going to be who hits it as far as possible and who hits it high. And that's going to be it. And there's going to be... It's not like Valhalla. The problem with Valhalla was like there was truly like no opportunity to like make anything worse than a bogey. Like just there, it's just not out there. Mm-hmm. There are doubles and triples that you can make at Quail, but it's going to be really easy to make birdies too. And so it's just, again, I think if you look at last week of the Truist at Philly Cricket Club there, I think we're going to see a very similar tournament. I think it'll probably produce a really good leaderboard. Like, I think when we sit down Sunday, it's going to be the big names because the way the course is going to go, it's like you have to hit it high, you have to hit it far, and so that just eliminates a lot of the mules. But I don't think it's going to lead to like a great test of golf. And so I'd like, again, and I don't want to be in this position. I don't like being the guy who, like, if Jordan Spieth wins, it's like, no, you didn't do the Grand Slam, man. Rory, no, you didn't win back-to-back majors. Scotty, no, that doesn't get, but somebody has to. Somebody's got to fucking do that. If this is all that's going to matter, and somebody cared about the history of the game, when we talk 10, 20, 15 years from now about like, oh, like what guys' careers were, and we lose the context, somebody has to be there to go, no, the 2025 PGA was bullshit. Who's going to be that guy? I guess it's going to have to be me. Yeah,
it's like I know what you mean. Where it's like
I'm a caretaker of the game, really, when you think about it.
I used to like seeing like high scores, but then, like when you really watch it, like too, you do want to see guys like beside the green, up and down. It's like like all the shots come out into play. Yeah.
Everything's got to be tested. And look, low scores are fine. 2000 U.S. Open, Tiger was fucking 12 under. Mm-hmm. That's fine. It was a hard golf course on a foot, and he was just that good.
Yeah.
So if we get something like that, then okay, that's fine with me. But the test has to be there. The test has to be legitimate. We need to be, again, like, what are we doing here? We said this was what is the difference, truly? What is the difference between this week and any other week on the PGA Tour? Besides the fact that Bryson and Brooks are there.
Yeah.
And Rahm, I guess.
I mean, you've talked about it too, where it's like the U.S. Open is kind of more of like, again, like it's not Augusta, where Augusta is just about like great golf. Like U.S. Open is really just trying to bring people in, bring money in, essentially, right? Like they're kind of more fixated on that opposed to the actual.
But the U.S. Open is the U.S. Open understands, like if you look at the courses the U.S. Open goes to, and so so it's like this, right? So the PGA of the 4 majors is very clearly the least important. I don't think anybody can argue against that. I don't think the PGA would argue against that. They used to be in August, and at least they got they're the last one. They used to go last. Well, now that got moved, and they moved, and now they play it. Now they play it in May, and that was them bending the knee to the PGA Tour because the PGA Tour said, "Hey, we want to run our playoffs in August, so we don't run into football. So you got to move your major." And the PGA, this is going to confuse people all week. It always does. The PGA Tour and the PGA are different things. They are different organizations. One does not own the other. But you wouldn't be able to tell that with how the PGA acts in relation to the PGA Tour. And so the PGA Tour, or the PGA, has no identity as a major, right? We have the Masters, which has the most identity. Everybody knows what that is, right? Augusta, all that. Mm-hmm. Then we have the U.S. Open, which is like, all right, that's the National Championship of America, and it is going to go to the best golf courses in America. And then you have the Open, this is the oldest golf tournament. It's the original major. Yep. It's the National Open of England, and they're going to go to all the Great Links golf courses. All 3 of those have an identity. The PGA has no identity. Nobody can explain to you why this tournament matters. And so they need to create one. And the way to create it would be to do the exact opposite of what they're currently doing. So what they are currently doing is trying to appease the PGA Tour every single step of the way. They did that by moving the tournament. Was that better for the tournament? Absolutely not. They're doing that by the courses that they go to. They said, we want to be the fairest major. We want to go to golf courses that are fair. And that's what all these tour pros want, is a golf course that's fair. They want, if I hit a good shot, I'm in a good spot. If I hit a bad shot, I'm in a bad spot. If I hit a really bad shot, I'm in a really bad spot. Whereas when you get to like great golf courses, like last year at Pinehurst, the U.S. Open, Scotty famously said he didn't like that golf course because once you hit it off the fairway, you were in that native area with like the little brush things.
Yeah.
And it's completely random what lie you get. You could be totally fine. You could be totally fucked. It's completely random. And he hated that. But that is part of golf.
That is.
Golf is not fair.
No, absolutely.
It's never meant to be fair.
Yeah.
And so these guys have taken, and because they're tour pros, and they're like, I do this for a living, and they want to turn everything into a science. They want to turn everything into if I do this, then this happens. And that's just not what the soul of golf is supposed to be, because golf is supposed to mimic life, right? And sometimes in life, you do everything right, bad shit happens to you, now you got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what golf is supposed to be. And so they just do a terrible job of that part of it. They're also, like, the way the PGA should create their identity would be like, okay, we are going to represent the history of the game. The PGA, the Professional Golfers Association, is an old organization. It's over 100 years old, and it's what really started professional golf in America. And so they should go to courses. Some of the courses that they do go to, Oak Hill. They're going to Aronimink next year. What's another good one? What's another Donald Ross one they should probably try to go to Pinehurst. Like all of these old golden age era, they should go to Philly Cricket Club. All these golden era golf courses, and celebrate like, hey, this is like what the history of American golf is, and then mix in some newer courses like what they are doing 2 years from now. So next year they go to Aronimink, which is an old ass course in Philly. And then the year after that, they're going to PGA Frisco, which is a brand new course in Texas. And that's cool because they're like, hey, we're gonna give you we're gonna represent the history of the game, and then we're gonna also represent the modern era of the game. We're gonna give you both, and that would be great. The problem is with these old ass courses, and Rory said this last week when he was at Philly Cricket Club. He said he was actually talking about the 23 PGA they played at Oak Hill. And he said, I played the first 2 rounds there, really trying to like be smart and be strategic with how I played the golf course. And then I realized by the weekend that you just need to hit driver everywhere and figure it out. With these old renovated golf courses, just needs to go. And he said the same thing at Philly Cricket Club last year, where he said, look, if the golf ball just went 10 to 15 yards shorter, this would be an incredible course. Because then you would have 6, 7, 6, 5 iron into these greens instead of wedge. Mm-hmm. And all these bunkers that these guys are carrying would be in play off the tee. And that's how the golf course was meant to be designed. And so PGA should be doing is be the strongest advocates for the golf ball rollback.
Yes, that's right.
They should be the ones. They should be with the Masters, in which, by the way, I don't like. This is not. We're not going to shit. We said we're putting a moratorium on shit on Rory. He's going to become such the Augusta spokesperson now. Like whatever Augusta wants to happen in the game is what Rory's going to happen.
It is annoying because I really think he means it when he says it, but he is such a nerd at heart. Like,
well, he just wants to be liked so bad.
I know,
right? So now he's like, oh, I'm in the club now. It's like, all right, like I just want everybody to like me. Like, so he's now like crazy, like pro rollback, where the PGA should be. They should be screaming from the top of the hills that we need to roll the ball back to save these old courses, and so that they can still be relevant to today's professional game. And instead of doing that, they're in the PGA Tour's pocket, who are, by the way, all in the pocket of the equipment manufacturers, and going and saying anti-rollback. Mm-hmm. And all the PGA Pro, right, all the club pros, right, like we go to Legends, and play down there, mm-hmm. and their whole training facility or whatever is sponsored by TaylorMade, right? So their club pro has a vested interest in what TaylorMade wants, right? And so it's all biased in that way towards what the equipment manufacturers want because they're paying all these guys. They're paying the PGA Tour pros, they're paying all the club pros, and the equipment manufacturers, specifically Titleist, are saying, yeah, we don't want this rollback. And so they're all against it, and they're all coming out against it. And that is the exact opposite of what the PGA should be doing. And so it's very hard for me to take the PGA seriously if you want to say this is a major championship when you are actively doing things to... What's the right way to word this? They are actively working to de-skill the game. You are supposed to be the ones that are advocating for a more complete test of the golfers, and you are actually doing the opposite, both by the courses you go to and the decisions you make in terms of who you align with and as far as the equipment stuff. And so if I'm going to sit here, people are going to tell me, hey, this is a major championship. I'm just going to need a little more than that for me to consider this a major championship in my books. And it sucks because, look, we only get 4 of these a year. And last year we only got 3. And it looks like this year we're only getting 3 again. And it sucks, man. Yeah. It sucks. And it sucks like because it doesn't have to be this way. 2023, the PGA was the best major of the year. It was a complete test of golf. And look, it was difficult. They did some stuff that was... And this is where I'll save a little bit of judgment until I see the course. The way they made Oak Hill a complete test was, one, the golf ball even 2 years ago flew shorter than it does now. So that's how far we've gone. In 2 years, it's different. And the pin placements were like, we're talking like 3 feet on, like 2 feet on, like tucked pin placement that made it difficult to hit it close. And so if we get that at Quail, that would be a good step in the right direction. But I think with how soft that golf course is going to be, and the lack of characteristics, I just don't see how we don't just get. It's going to be, honestly, I think it's going to be like a putting contest.
It doesn't really seem like there's a way around this. And like also too, like it'd be like
roll the ball back.
Well, no, roll the ball back for sure. But that's like coming in what, like 4 or 5 years? You're saying
it's coming in 2028 for the pros, 2030 for everybody else.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like we still got some time to wait. So it does
also,
seem like we are
there's no guarantee the PGA makes them use it. Like the only ones right now saying we're rolling the ball back are Augusta, the USGA, and the R&A.
Oh, so that in the US. Oh, yeah, for sure. So like, do you think there's a chance that like maybe like if there was like, it seems like you're kind of the only one who has this outrage with this. A lot of other people aren't really saying that the PGA is not a real tournament.
Golf people are saying it.
So what people are saying that, do you think there's a chance that this would also kind of discredit all the US Open, PGA championships that have been won in the past? But like,
sure, you want to go through a list?
But I'm saying to change it to be like this is no longer like a major. Like, where do you think that conversation goes?
Listen. We've changed before what made. First of all, when people talk about the idea of majors were invented in the 60s when Arnold Palmer and I think a writer for like the Cleveland newspaper sat down and came up with the idea of like, oh, these are the majors. And at the time, the majors were the US Open, the Open, the USAM, and the British AM. Those were the 4 majors. And then it changed through the 60s and 70s to include the Masters and then eventually the PGA. And so we've changed before what we think a major is. In the women's game, they did this. They just invented a 5th major.
Yeah.
They just invented the Chevron, and so that's a major now. And so it gets to an interesting conversation about like what is a major and what is not. And to me, I think it's what we've talked about in this conversation of it is a complete test of the world's best players on an exceptional golf course. The venue matters. And the USGA knows this. They are the ones who are getting this right now, right? There's 2 majors in America that rotate venues every year. The US Open and the PGA. The US Open is bangers fucking only.
Yeah, no, they're nailing, yeah.
Oakmont, whatever happens this week, Oakmont is going to be incredible a month from now. That is a high-level championship historic golf course that is going to test the best players at the highest level. We are not getting that from the PGA this week. I would like to think we're going to get that from a Ron and Mink next year. I don't have a lot of faith in that. And then we'll see what PGA Frisco is 2 years from now. Nobody's ever really played that course. And they're going to Olympic Club after that in San Francisco, which is a course I like. So like it gets better after this, but going Valhalla, Quail Hollow back to back is just, it's unforgivable. It's just, and again, it's like, again, it gets that conversation. What's a major and what's not a major? I would be willing to say that if the PGA Tour found a way to get Rahm, Bryson, and Brooks into the Players' Championship, I would be willing to consider that a major over the PGA.
Yeah.
I think the Players, Sawgrass is an infinitely better golf course than the ones that the PGA has been going to. It's set up harder. It has just as good of a field minus those guys.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, like kind of that direction of that course, just because also through the historical, like there's just historical holes on that, right? Like
every
people
year.
know that. I almost look at that as like when I watch that, like that does view as a major. Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm excited for this tournament every year. So stick with me here on this. But majors, you ever heard that the courtroom definition, or the quote of that judge who was asked to define porn, and he said I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Yes,
majors are a little bit like that. It's like I may not be able, I can kind of define it, I think, but it's like when you're watching a major.
Well, I think that you just described what it is. And it's like, so yeah, you know it when you see it, and if you're watching these like the PGA Championship last year and this year, it's like, well, you're gonna know it and you're not gonna see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not gonna feel like a major.
Yeah,
right. And that sucks. And like I said, like we're heading into it now where it's like, I don't think this is going to count. I would like to have everybody. I would like to warn everybody. Xander Schauffele was like, oh, maybe I'm going to go back-to-back PGAs. Spieth, career Grand Slam, Scott, all these guys, like, just understand, like, you are playing in the Wells Fargo Championship this week and act accordingly.
This is good, man. I hope this gets people riled up like the hockey stuff did.
Probably not. It's golf. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. All right, one last golf thing before we move on to our Jordon update of the week.
Biggest one.
So if you guys remember from last episode, we had reached out to the RBC Canadian Open to request media credentials. Made a compelling argument, I think. A really nicely worded email.
Nonetheless.
Really nicely worded email. They did get back to us and allowed us to submit applications, which we found out really just a few hours ago have been denied.
Yeah.
And so I would like to say this. The RBC Canadian Open does not support journalism. They do not want a free press. They are, I don't know, what do you not want us to find out? That's what I would like to say. What's going on in there? Why are you scared of investigative journalism coming to your tournament?
Of course.
What's going on?
I don't know.
You got ties to China?
I don't know a single person that gets in there, man. Do you know a single person that gets in there? It's just a bunch of guys.
Closed shop,
nobody's
seems
ever
like.
known.
Yeah, no, I'm sure all the TSN guys are credentialed. Yeah, I'm sure there's no conflict of interest there.
Yeah, we got Jay Onright going in there.
Mealy-mouthed James Duffy up there. It's a great tournament, guys. It's going great. What are you guys afraid of? It's an attack on the free press. Listen. They think they're going to keep us. They will not keep us out. We will be there. We will be boots on the ground. We will expose them, and we will continue our journey, our mission to bring a free and fair press to the world.
I agree. They think they can bring in Billy Talent. I'm just going to love them now. No,
Sam
I love
Roberts on the Saturday. I saw that today.
That's when we love the bands there. Don't think we're tricked by this. All right, you guys are fuckers, and you just
they're probably on the payroll too.
Us.
They're probably on the payroll too. Listen, all I'm saying,
they're definitely on the payroll.
All I'm saying is if I was everybody out there, people listening to the Diceshaker, we appreciate you, we love you. I would just start looking into RBC executives and Epstein list. That's all. I would just start to do the research, guys. Let's start. They're clearly hiding something. They're hiding something from us that they don't want us to know.
They know the Diceshaker asked the right questions.
That's
too.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We're gonna get in there. We're gonna start asking about the flight logs. Honestly, I think what it might be, they don't want us in there going. This might be a collusion from the PGA Tour and the PGA being like, these guys are gonna get in the press conferences and they're gonna start asking hard questions about what is and is not a major, and we're not prepared for that.
Of course not.
They're not prepared for that. So that's it. Listen, that's the world we live in, 2025, where people hate journalists, people hate the media. They've villainized us, they've persecuted us. Probably, honestly, the most persecuted group of people on the planet is us. Yeah, I would imagine.
Well, starting with the start where you said we have to record in a basement. You know what I mean? Like, just life is not fair or just, and it just keeps happening.
And we're being kept down because we're truth tellers. Is the issue, and we won't stand for it. And we will be at the RBC Canadian Open, and I will be applying for credentials again next year. We're on to Jordon. All right, Jordon update of the week. So look, when was the first time we talked about this? I think it was the yoga picture, right?
Yes, it was Bill Belichick on the beach with his feet up.
Right.
And no. We talked about it first. We were excited about it.
Right.
We started off very excited about this. He had a hot girlfriend. Right. And then it went downhill quickly.
It's gotten so out of hand so fast, this story. And look, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time. I mean, again, we'll just reiterate, as a podcast, we love and support Jordon Hudson. We support women in power. We support girl bosses. And we think she's done nothing wrong. Please come on the show. So we had a development in the story last Friday. So Pablo Torre is a reporter, I guess, for ESPN. And I will say right now, before we get into all of this, me personally, I don't like Pablo Torre. Not a fan of his work. He's kind of one of those, like a woke, like thinks he's kind of better than sport. It's like, like the average sports fan's like beneath him kind of guy. Went to Harvard, all that. So I don't really like him. Nobody would say that like even me saying, you're saying a guy doesn't like him. Like nobody would question, like he is like a serious journalist. This man is like, this is not like Stephen A. Smith. I'm just going to say shit to get clicks. This guy went to Harvard. He takes himself and his work very seriously, whether I like it or not. Like he is, nobody thinks he's like bullshitting. Nobody thinks he's like just outright here trying to get attention. So say that to say this. Friday, he dropped a podcast detailing his investigation into the Jordon Hudson situation and her involvement with UNC football. Very quickly after his reporting comes out, we'll get into what was in the report, but very quickly after his reporting comes out, UNC denies the report, says it's not true, while also making clear in their statement that Jordon Hudson does not work for UNC football. Fast forward to today, Belichick did an interview with ESPN today by himself, and in it saying, as a personal relationship, it's to the side. She has nothing to do with UNC football. So those are the public statements that have been made from all camps regarding this investigation. So I'm just going to take you through quite a long list here, but just some of the highlights of what was in that investigation. Some of it you've probably heard, some of it you probably haven't. We'll get live reactions as we go, and then we'll kind of wrap up with kind of general overall take here. So Pablo Torre cites 11 sources in the investigation. They range from high-ranking people at UNC Athletics to people within Belichick's inner circle to members of the Belichick family. The initial claim that made news was that the claims that Jordon has been banned from the football facility and she's no longer allowed to go into the building. That was the initial report that UNC said is not true. She is welcome in the building. So that's that. Within the report, some of the other details that were in there. So there's a lot of quotes from all these different people just about the character of Jordon Hudson, with one of the quotes being, "I've never seen someone so cocky with such a lack of a resume."
Yeah.
So that's general sentiment there. Some of the things here that came out. So it came out before this that Hard Knocks was going to go in and do a documentary and ended up pulling out. Apparently they pulled out because she insisted on being listed as an executive producer on the show. There was also a story about the Super Bowl commercial that they were in, that she basically tried to insert herself into that and basically make it where they were filming the commercial, doing their thing. She shows up unannounced, wearing like a yellow polka dot bikini, and basically tries to convince the production company there that actually what we should do is I should be involved in this, and it should be about me trying to get Bill Belichick's attention. And what got reported to Pablo was that the crew pretended to film her. Like they were like, yeah, no, great idea. Yeah, let's shoot that over there. And then they just didn't record it.
Nice.
They just did it to humor. So that's one.
Okay.
Speaking further to like sort of media stuff and her involvement. So the thing that really kicked off this wave was that CBS interview where they show her in it, being like, "Oh, we're not talking about that." Yeah. So she said that there was an agreement between them and CBS that they weren't going to talk about that. In the report, CBS says that's not true. That was never in the agreement. And in fact, they asked the question because they wanted to positively cover their relationship. But it turned negative because she kept interrupting. Yes. She kept stepping in the way. And they basically we're trying to do a puff piece here and make your boy look good, and you won't shut the fuck up. So now we have to go this direction with it. Another instance of just general incompetence was they were doing an NFL Films thing to, I guess, promote his book. And they were caught on a hot mic. Belichick was mic'd. And she was just running her mouth, talking shit about like the graphics department, the control truck, like everybody, just running her mouth, talking shit, basically making everybody hate her and hate Belichick. Little interesting detail here. So she lists herself as the COO of Belichick Media. Belichick Media is not a real company. It doesn't exist. Just not real. No business founded under that name. There is no COO. There's no anything. It doesn't exist. It's fake. She made it up. That's what her title is. Her emails.
This isn't helping her case to not be crazy.
CEO of a fake company. Okay. CEO of a fake company. People think, and so this is speculation coming from, I would imagine, family sources, that there's a reality show in the works that she's seeing herself as on a reality show with Bill Belichick, and that maybe is also why she got kind of grisly with Hard Knocks there.
Yep.
And this has been reported that her biggest concern throughout this entire sort of saga and the media coverage, and this is apparently like true, and she sincerely believes this, is that it is impacting her chances to win the Miss Maine beauty pageant, which happened to be this past weekend. She finished third. Bill Belichick was in attendance at the beauty pageant. Again,
support a boyfriend. Yep.
Third. And so family sources are concerned that Jordon is ruining Bill's legacy, basically, is what's happening here. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. So Bill Belichick has 3 kids. He has a daughter. He has 2 sons. And so it's been clear. I think he's I don't think he talks to the daughter. And it's been made clear that, like, through this reporting, that clearly the daughter is one of the sources. And it could be like, listen, it's a tale as old as time. An old rich guy marries a hot young new chick. His kids are worried, like, yo, is he going to die and leave her everything? Like, if they get married, if he knocks her up, like, what does this mean for us? So there's that, right? But then I think there's also this idea that she is either intentionally or through outright incompetence making Belichick look terrible, because she is of the idea of, like, all publicity is good publicity. And if we just look dumb and if we look bad, then that's good, because it means people are talking about us. And there's evidence of that. Is so back in 2023, that I don't know if did you ever see that video that came out of Bill Belichick leaving what apparently is her house on the ring cam? No, he's like, it's just like stumbling out the front, shirtless, probably hungover, like it was caught on a ring camera. And that was like the first thing of like, look at Bill Belichick out here. You're fucking leaving some chick's house, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but the question that Pablo's asked in the investigation, and that I think the family's asking, is how do you get that video? How do you get internal ring cam footage from somebody's home? Who has access to that?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question.
Well,
too.
It's a short list.
Yeah.
We don't. There's one person we know for sure has access to it. We know Jordon does.
Yeah.
We know for sure she has access to it. And so how did that get out, and why did it get out? Is it to make Bill look bad? Is it to create his personal life and do a news story?
What is the purpose of making him look bad?
Get people to talk about it.
Just to get people to talk about him.
And
as if they weren't talking.
And that's where the overall. That's where the overall. My overall take comes in is, look, this chick is crazy. I think that's clear. I think besides all the stuff that we've heard, I think you could easily determine she's crazy based on the fact that she does beauty pagements.
Yeah.
Like, sure. I don't know if you've ever seen what one of those looks like, or like seen the people who are raised in those, but it's not even like, it's not like a who's the hottest chick contest. It's more of a like, who's the most doll like. Like, who truly, it's a concept of like, who has the least amount of a soul. Who can be the most dead behind the eyes, vapid, look plastic person? Mm-hmm. And so if your whole life, to the point where like her biggest concern is that she might lose fucking Miss Maine, which she did, finished third. If that's your biggest concern, that just means right away you're a psycho. Also, she's just dumb. Like, that's just what we're dealing with here. Is it's like, she's crazy and she's bad and she's dumb, and she's dumb by, we see how everything that's gone wrong for them in the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's been, is all self-inflicted. CBS wanted to come in and do a puff piece interview. She fucked that up. Mm-hmm. NFL Films wanted to do a puff piece interview. She's caught on the hot mic because she doesn't know how shit works. She tells HBO, I want to be an executive producer. None of this is how you manage a media relationship, to the point where, and it's come out in that investigation as well, Bill Belichick has hired another PR person to try to fix this. Yeah. So like, there's at least an acknowledgement there, and clearly from the statements that we see from UNC and Belichick, they are clearly distancing themselves. She is not involved in UNC football. She is not, because I think there's a recognition that like, she is doing a bad job of this. If her job is to manage the public media relations of Bill Belichick, she has done the worst job imaginable. Yes. In that he looks like a moron, like a straight up idiot, and she looks crazy. And there's been, look, it's honestly not all on her, because like that was in the report too. Because one of the questions that comes out is like, okay, how did we get here? Like, how does a 24-year-old just attain this much power? And that was one of the things, again, don't like Pablo, but one of the things he kept saying in the investigation, which I like, he goes, this is not a story about an age gap relationship. This is a story about power and who can get it. Mm-hmm. How did she obtain so much power? How is there nobody who stepped in and said something, right? And so the first people you'd look to is his family. Well, he doesn't talk to the daughter. It doesn't seem like he talks to his ex-wife at all. And he's got two sons, Steve and Brian. They're both on staff at UNC. Now, I would be very interested to see, especially Steve Belichick, what his take on all this is, and whether he is one of these sources that's talking to Pablo Torre, because I could definitely see it from his perspective. Because Steve, by all measurement, so Steve was on staff at the Patriots, mm-hmm. Then he was the defense coordinator at Washington last year, and now he's the defense coordinator at UNC. And respectable football people all agree that Steve is legit. He's a good coach. Like, regardless, like his last name could be whatever, Steve can coach him some football, and it's the way Belichick's contract is set up is everybody thinks it's to make he's going to be there for 2 years and then Steve's going to take over. And so if he's sitting there looking like, yo, this crazy chick my dad's fucking is ruining my career because she's going to fuck. I'm supposed to be the head coach of UNC football in 2 years. Now that's not going to happen. And then my family's a joke and I'm going to have to answer questions about this everywhere we go. So I would love to see what their statement is. But that's okay. So his family is not incentivized to say anything. And then you look at it like, okay, who's his inner circle, right? And it's Matt Patricia. Remember Matt Patricia? Yep. Pencil guy. He defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator for 1 year for the Patriots. It's Josh McDaniel, longtime offensive coordinator for the Patriots. It's Mike Lombardi, who's a longtime assistant and is now the GM, sort of head of recruiting at UNC. And the families basically come out and said, like, those are all yes men. They all just tell Bill whatever. They're terrified of him. They just say whatever. Whatever he thinks is good is what they're going with. They're all just trying to save their own ass and keep their job. So there's just nobody here who can get in Bill, who can have a real conversation with Bill. Like, you are fucking this up, dude. Like, for real. Like, you have, like, it's to the point now where with how the post Brady years went in New England and how messy of a split that was between him and Kraft, and then this, it tarnishes for sure his leg. Like when 10 years now, 20 years from now, when we talk about Bill Belichick, we're going to talk about the Super Bowls and how dominant it was, and then we're going to talk about the end.
Well, no, I still think it stands, dude. It actually makes it more important now. If he does win a championship with UNC, then it's like, dude, it's actually even sicker because it's like amidst all of this bullshit, he still went out and was the greatest coach ever.
Sure.
But if he loses, then it's like Tom Brady was the only reason, and he's an idiot that got involved with some 24-year-old chick that's absolutely out of her mind, and it ruined everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Complete own goal. Complete self-inflicted.
It really is an all-or-nothing thing now.
Right. And I will say this. You're right. You're right about that. I will say this. I think it is more likely that Bill Belichick never coaches a game at UNC than it is that they end up winning. And
that's fair.
That was first reported. That was first reported on the Diceshaker podcast a couple of weeks ago.
You did say that.
I said, I think, and then this tidbit comes out about his contract. So right now, Bill Belichick has a $10 million buyout. So if UNC wants to fire him, they got to cut him a $10 million check. If he wants to leave early, he's got to cut UNC a $10 million check. After June 1st, that drops to $1 million. Mm-hmm. And that was supposedly put in the contract as like a, hey, if the NFL comes calling, you can get out of here kind of thing. Right? So easy buyout, no problem. Now it's a situation of UNC is very clearly embarrassed by all this, right? And UNC, if people don't understand college athletics, UNC, while they do not have football history, they are a school that takes themselves quite seriously.
Yes. Yep.
They're not there to be anybody's joke, okay? And they've always been seen as this sleeping giant in football where it's like, man, if they ever started to care, they could be a national power. And that's what this was supposed to be. It was, okay, NIL era, we've got the money, let's go get the coach, here we go. And for them to be sitting there going like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Like, what did we're getting? And I promise you, this is, and people don't think this is how college sports work because of how much money involved. I promise you this is how this shit works. There are a bunch of rich dudes who are paying for everything at UNC, including his salary. And they are going to their golf clubs. They are going to Pinehurst. And they are going to Quail Hollow. And they are going to all these private courses all around Charlotte and all around North Carolina. And when they get there, they're hanging out with their buddies. And their buddies went to Duke. And their buddies went to NC State. And their buddies went to Wake Forest. And when they show up to the tee time, they go, yo, what is your coach doing? And they can't have that, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's how a lot of this stuff in college sports gets done, is it's like the boosters are doing it not even to, like, they don't make money off this. They're doing it because they want to talk shit to other rich guys. Which is like, I fully understand that because that's what I would do if I had a lot of money. If I had a lot of money, I would just make sure Oklahoma's good every year. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I would drive fun from. And so when they become a laughing stock, UNC is not down for that. I promise that. Now, there are probably still some holding out some hope of like, hey, look, there's enough time. We can get her fucking away from the program and we just ride out this summer. If everybody shut the fuck up, you hire a real PR person to fix your image. The portal class was pretty good. They're bringing in some pretty good players there. Maybe we can just win some games. But if UNC is sitting there going like, God damn, I don't know if this is right. And then from Bill's standpoint, like, how will Bill handle being told what he can and can't do? Right? When they come in and set down the law and they've denied they've done this, but if they're coming in and saying, hey, she can't be around, man. She can't be here anymore, dog. Like, she can't be all up in the meetings. She can't be calling people. She can't be, she can't be in every, she is not a part of UNC football, which has been the consistent statement between UNC and Bill Belichick. They are unified on that front. Like, hey, she is not a part of this. How long is Belichick okay with that? Because this is the man who didn't want to take NFL jobs if he couldn't have full control over the roster. Like, this is not a man who gives up control very easily. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where we're at with Jordon and them. I'm excited to see where this goes. I would encourage everybody to go listen to the Pablo Torre podcast. It's called Pablo Torre Finds Out, where all the stories are in there. You can hear them all in detail. It's only about 50 minutes long. But we're going to be here every step of the way as this unfolds throughout the season. If we make it that far, we are the number one Jordon Hudson podcast in the world.
We are.
Again, I would love if she came on the show. I'd listen. I think it's bullshit that you didn't win Miss Maine. I heard a transgender person win the first one. That's got to be politically motivated. 100%. So look, just here to support you, Jordon, and everything that you do. I think you're doing a great job, and it's a lot of people out to get you. A lot of people don't respect women in power. A lot of people are afraid of what you might change in the game of football. You know, we haven't even gotten to what her ideas are from a scheme standpoint.
No idea.
Nobody's even asked.
She wants to bring in 14 men on the field.
Nobody's even asked. Nobody's tried it yet. Nobody's tried it yet. You're all scared to. That's
She's
the problem.
a visionary.
That's the problem. All right. That was a long one. We're going to get out of here. That's the podcast. Thank you for liking. Thank you for listening. Rate, subscribe, all that stuff. Get in the comments. Mix it up. We love you guys. We'll be back next week. Thank you.
I bet my life I'm a dice shaker. Electric lights on a skyscraper.